as well as on many semi-professional levels in the United States. This magazine cover shows catcher George Pullen with a Japanese player in 1927 on a tour of Japan and the South Pacific for exhibition games, and included exhibition games with Nisei or Japanese American teams in California as well. But black baseball teams also existed outside of the Negro League structure, all over the country. The Wichita Monrovians, for example, had a great following in western Kansas in 1925. They were apparently bold and visible enough to secure a game against Ku Klux Klan Lodge number 6 in June of 1925. It's a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness. This is a news article from the Wichita Eagle announcing the game. And if you can't see that, it says strangleholds, razors, horsewhips, and other violent implements of argument will be barred from the baseball game at Allen Park this afternoon when the baseball club of Wichita Klan number 6 goes up against Wichita Monrovians, Wichita's crack-colored team. Now, I got to thinking, okay, so you won a game against the Klan. This is Klan Lodge number 6. So Klan Lodge number 1, they don't have a baseball team. Lodge number 2, they're having a bake sale. Lodge number 3, they're having a car wash. You get down to lodge number 6, oh yeah, we'll play. That's okay. This is the height of Klan activity across the country. The new Klan, even at that time period, I'm going to turn the lights down just a little bit for you so you can see a little better. The new Klan that was emerging across the United States around 1925, especially in places like Kansas and Indiana. And the Klan, unfortunately, was kind of part of the social fabric for a lot of different communities. It was part of the business community in some of these places. So if you had a business, you probably had business people, white owners who were also members of the Klan. And it also had a political agenda beyond their segregationist feelings, the isolationist political agenda after World War I, the anti-Catholic, anti-Jew feelings that they had, and the political agenda that they were promoting. So unfortunately, the Klan was very prevalent. But they had a great game. The Monrovians won 10-8. It turned out to be a very exciting game. I think it went down to the wire, and so everyone had a good time, and there were no problems. So baseball brings these desperate groups together. Now, black baseball also brought innovation. The most notable was the regular use of lights for night baseball. J.L. Wilkinson, one of the few white men involved in the official Negro leagues, developed and used a truck and pole lighting system for the 1930 season, 5 years before the first official night baseball game was played in Major League Baseball. Wilkinson owned one of the best and most prosperous teams in the league, the Kansas City Monarchs, especially during the Great Depression years when the league structures actually folded for a short while. The Monarchs could travel as an independent team all across the country, especially into western Kansas, into Nebraska, into the Dakotas, and even into Canada. And most of the time they traveled with a team called the Israelite House of David, which was a Christian commune up near Benton Harbor, Michigan, and they had sports teams to kind of promote the resort that they had in Benton Harbor. They wore long beards and long hair. They didn't trim their whiskers or hair for religious purposes. But can you imagine during the Great Depression where people were trying to find work during the day, baseball teams are coming into town in North Dakota with this lighting system in the middle of the night that maybe you've never seen before. One of the teams is African American. The other team is these guys with this crazy hair. And this is quite an attraction for some people. And again, in the middle of Depression, it probably was quite a respite from what was happening during the day. But I recall stories of people like Connie Johnson, who was a pitcher with the Monarchs, talking about going to places like that and visiting and seeing. They loved the attention that they got, but young people would come up to them, and maybe they'd seen Native Americans, but when they see an African American, they would rub on his hand to see if the blackness would come off of his skin. Just a very interesting experience for them. Black baseball fans enjoyed the play on the field and the atmosphere. The ladies depicted here in Bonnie Brown's Catch Me a Ball Player demonstrated the style exhibited at black baseball games. That style and also the community connections to baseball are echoed in Kadir Nelson's Willie Foster and Young Fans. Willie Foster, a star pitcher for several Negro League teams, stands larger than life above the young admirers in the community who are carrying his uniform and equipment in order to get into the game. In spite of the disparity in economic status demonstrated by the differences in dress between Foster and his fans, the black ball player was still part of the community. He lived there, he ate there, he was not segregated from the segregation. Professional athletes today often separate themselves from the general population. And Willie Foster was the half-brother of Andrew Rube Foster, considered by many to be the father of black baseball. Foster proved to be a brilliant player and manager in his day. He was also a brilliant baseball executive. It was under his leadership that the Negro National League was formed in 1920. Foster managed teams in Chicago and would also book games for the Detroit Stars. He was a large man in both size and stature in the Negro Leagues, as demonstrated again by artist Kabir Nelson. He was either loved or hated, but everyone respected Foster. And it was said that when he died in 1930, people lined the streets for 3 days to view his body. Now, as I mentioned, black baseball players are traveling the nation, entertaining fans, mostly black fans, but of all races, and dealing with the varying norms about race in society. I want to share this very interesting photograph with you to demonstrate what players had to endure. So imagine you've been on the road on a bus all afternoon, and after your game, on the way to the next one, the road is desolate and you just hope to find a place to rest and eat. And in the distance, you see this friendly-looking sign, the Grand Cafe. And this looks promising. You get closer to the sign, and you see that they offer some meal specials, including, believe it or not, pies, and pardon the expression, nigger chicken. Well, what the fuck does that mean? This is a backhanded compliment to the kitchen chefs. And it's amazing, even in the 40s and 50s. Even in a segregated society, you're stunned when you see this on a giant sign on the freeway. Oh, what do? You stop and burn the sign? Do you take a baseball bat to it? You do neither. You stop and take a picture with the sign. As the members of the Kansas City Monarchs did to savor their moment of amazement. Honestly. It's a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness, as the boy says. As this is a medical school, I wish I could regale you with stories of unusual maladies for players, or on and off the baseball diamond, or tales of unusual treatments. And I couldn't find a lot of those stories. Certainly there were a number of sports injuries. Here we see catcher for the Kansas City Monarchs, Earl Taborn, with his teammates recovering from an injured foot in the 1940s. He at least got a chance to meet legendary jazz musician Lionel Hampton, who's there holding the bat, who's wearing a baseball uniform next to him. Hampton was a huge fan of the Negro Leagues, and whenever he would go to games, especially in Kansas City and Memphis, he made sure that he got a chance to go down and see the games and meet with the teams. And the Monarchs made him an honorary coach. This is around 1949 in the Pittsburgh Courier newspaper, which is one of the African American newspapers. Now, access to health care in general may have been a larger problem for Negro Leagues players as well as African Americans on a whole. But one can only speculate if the tragic ends faced by Rube Foster in 1930 or Josh Gibson in 1947 could have been averted. Foster, who's there on the far side, was believed to have suffered a mental breakdown, possibly after inhaling gas fumes from a faulty hotel heater. There's other evidence to say maybe he might have been exhibiting symptoms of syphilis as well. But we don't know for sure. But he died in an asylum outside of Chicago. His funeral, as I mentioned earlier, lasted 3 days, and thousands of well-wishers came to see him. It's speculated that Gibson, who used drugs and alcohol to battle undiagnosed brain tumor, he was one of the greatest hitters of all time, but his life was cut short at the age of 35.